Hey everybody. As I've been recently seeing a lot of stuff about allowing turbo for speedruns. Regardless of your opinion on it, regardless of my opinion on it, before everyone just jumps to using turbo for all speedruns and stuff, I'd like to just show you like different ways that you can mash on your controller, just to kind of show like there's different techniques. I know for like accessibility reasons, people like the auto fire and stuff because they don't have to mash. Um, I just don't think that maybe everybody's mashing the same way. So I just kind of wanted to go over a few techniques of maybe another way that you could do it that might help you instead of just going straight to turbo. So there's a few different ways that I've evolved to do mine. I should probably say right at the beginning I'm left-handed. So the way that my hands work, like my left being dominant, being on this one, it's a lot stronger than normal. And I'm going to go over that in just a moment, why that makes a difference. So traditionally, I would say most people probably mash on a controller like so. You can't really get a good grip on it, and when you're mashing like this, your hand is going to get tired. Now, it really depends on the game and how often you mash. You should be mashing in sync with the dialogue in an RPG or any kind of game that requires it, but this is about as fast as I can mash just using my thumb. And what this is doing is it's putting a lot of pressure here, not really anywhere else on the arm, but just right here. So eventually that would get tiring over the course of a few hours. I don't really consider this the best way to mash, but like for casual use, it gets, if you don't have to require to mash any faster, it gets what needs to get done, but it does put some tension right here on your hands. However, there's other ways that you can do it. So some people might relinquish the left side of their hand so they can hold the controller and mash like this, or even like that. However, I think that this is a faster way of mashing. It puts a lot more tension on my forearm rather than my hand. So then my forearms start hurting, as opposed to just like this part right here. I feel like this is hurting me a little bit more. Another way is you can change the whole way that you play so that you don't have to change your hand position in order to mash. They have what's called clawing the controller, which is where people play like this, where they have like their hands like this, and it makes it easier to kind of mash or do whatever you do. It's a little bit more of a comfortable position. You guys remember the speed board from the NES, right? It was a hunk of plastic like AVGN said. However, it did allow you to go a little bit faster. If you've ever watched your speedrunners play with controller cams, a lot of them do play like this. They'll claw the controller. It has a little bit more accessibility to all the other buttons, and it kind of relieves a little bit of tension of having to have your hands sideways and moving like this, which is awkward, as opposed to having your hands like this and already being in the position where you can mash and go through the other buttons. As for me, I'm left-handed, so this is a little bit different. I don't know if anybody else mashes this way. I might be the only one. I don't know. I've never seen anybody do it. Now, instead of mashing with my hand, I mash using the controller, the whole thing. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's the best way I've ever found for me to mash without hurting myself. As I said, I'm left-handed, so my left hand's my dominant hand. When you're using a controller, especially like Super Nintendo or NES or something, even a joystick, you use this hand the least amount. You might use your L buttons for like more advanced games. For like retro games, this is pretty much all you're doing, and most of the time you're just kind of holding a direction, not really moving it too much, unless you're doing inputs in a fighting game or something. This hand is seeing the least amount of use, whereas this hand's seeing all of it. So this hand has a little bit more energy, and if you never use this hand to mash, it might be the best one to use. So what is that technique? My technique is to hold the controller like this and mash the controller into my thumb, like so. And I find that this works really well. It barely puts a lot of tension on my left hand, which never gets hurt from doing it. I only ever feel tension right here in my forearms if I do it really hard. As for my thumb, I point it down, like we see my nail. I point it down at the button, and I just slam it in. And I feel like all I have to do is put pressure right here on my thumb, just like this, to kind of tighten it up, which only puts pressure on my thumb and my first finger, just like that. And I just go like this into it. And I feel like I can hold my thumb a little bit more steady to where I can mash a lot quicker than usual, as opposed, like the button never really gets all the way fully up. And I just mash it like that. Whereas if you're pressing it, you see, even the fastest you can press, like that. It's like the fastest you can do it. If you do it like this, your hands are changed from where the thing is, and you're kind of accomplishing the same thing that I'm doing, except I'm mashing the controller into my thumb, which I'm not moving my thumb at all. This is all my left hand. I just thought that I'd show off a few techniques on exactly how to mash in different ways. I'm sure there's plenty of more ways. It also depends on what button you're using. Like, I don't think I could really use that technique for like the R button. Well, yeah, I guess I could. But there's different ways to do it. I just wanted to show you. You could try either of those ways to see if it helps with your hands, especially if the game that you're speedrunning, they don't have any turbo categories or anything like that. Just, just for the people who feel like they might be hurting themselves or anything, I just thought I'd like to give a little bit of advice maybe to some people who might want some help. But that's it. That's all I wanted to show. I'll see you guys later.